Who is the strongest right hand of them all? Well, that's what we're going to take a look at today. You see, I'm going to have some haters after this list, but who cares? Because what I'm going to do is be counting down my top 10 strongest vice captains. And this is all of them in their prime, starting at number 10. And I have Killer. And I hate that Killer is so low on this list, because having to be the right hand of Eustace Kid, has got to be one of the most difficult tasks in the world. I mean, at least with Luffy, he's got the strength of Zoro and the reliability and brains of Sanji. Killer, however, has to do it all himself. I mean, for the longest period of time, I would compare Killer directly with Zoro. He's technically a swordsman, just like Zoro, a member of the worst generation, just like Zoro. And honestly, I just feel like Killer is so underrated. We saw partially what he could do as Kamazo the Manslayer, and I thoroughly enjoyed his fight against Zoro, even though he didn't have his punishers. Look, without going into too much detail, for his loyalty to Kid, the strength he possesses, his IQ, and his portrayal, I'm completely happy having Killer at number 10. Now on to number 9, and I got the boy Katakuri. Now once again, it's a bit sad seeing him this low in this list, because when he was revealed to us, he was literally goated. Charlotte Katakuri is the second son of the Yonko Big Mom, but he literally runs everything on Whole Cake Island. You see, Big Mom has what was 4 Sweet Commanders, which soon became 3 Sweet Commanders, and Katakuri is number 1, sitting right at the top, with no one even daring to challenge him. As a character in post-time skip, Katakuri has been one to make me stand up from my seat and say, wow, there is absolutely levels to this shit. We were literally told that this guy's observation haki was so good, he could see a little bit into the future, a feat that we had not seen in the story so far, and a feat that even those that I've got ranked above him are yet to have shown. If we're talking strength, this guy could stop Luffy going into Gear 4 simply through his observation haki. He could overpower Luffy with his armament haki, and he was able to match Luffy at the time in regards to Conqueror's haki. Katakuri's portrayal was second to none. If we look at the fact that his mother is Big Mom, and she is literally unpredictable, only a beast like Katakuri could do this, earning him a fantastic spot at number 9. So who's at number 8? An absolute rare breed, and that is King the Wildfire. Now, being the right hand of Kaido should speak volumes itself. King was literally handpicked by Kaido after seeing his durability, and that alone tells you what kind of individual this is. King's real name is Alba, and he is basically from the extinct Lunarian race from the Red Line. And to put into perspective King's greatness, there's this line that Queen says to Sanji when he talks about Zoro trying to fight King, and he says, he can't beat King. That guy's a remnant of the extinct Lunarian tribe, a monster that can survive in any natural environment. In the distant past, gods is what they were called, and that alone should send shivers down anyone's spine. We see that King has these 2 forms, flames on, flames off. With the flames on, it's basically impossible to lay a dent on him, and I mean, this is some mean feat, because even Zoro with Enma was able to scar Kaido, but when King had those flames on, there was absolutely no chance. But it's not just about his durability, because when them flames come off, King's speed becomes so insane, so quick that Zoro couldn't even see his attacks coming. I mean, King is an absolute beast, and there's not many people that could step to him in the whole verse really, but someone who did is at number 7, and that is Zoro. And I know you are literally watching this now like, what the heck? Why is Zoro so low? And that's completely valid, but doesn't that just tell you how monstrous the guys further up on this list are? Now, most of us know that Zoro's portrayal has been fantastic. Someone who is willing to lay it all on the line just to get that W. I've loved almost everything about Zoro. From his dedication to becoming the world's strongest swordsman, to the ability to give up his goal for the sake of his captain. You see, he's one of the best vice captains you can have. Someone who will endure the pain and get shit done, and then tell you nothing happened. And even though I do believe Zoro has his stupid moments, in the form of his gag, of him constantly getting lost, he also is the voice of reason to his captain at times. We've seen Zoro tell Luffy that he needs to get serious. They are in a new world now. We've also seen him stop Luffy taking on the world government to save Vivi. We've even seen Zoro scold Luffy for putting up with Uso's disrespect. But this is a strength list. Zoro has always had a role on taking on the second strongest combatant whenever they've come up against any opponents. His ability to use King of Hell to defeat King is what puts Zoro ahead of him. And honestly, now with his awakened Conqueror's haki, there's not many people in the verse which I believe can hang with Zoro. And obviously by the end of the story, I imagine Zoro will be number 1 on this list. However, ahead of Zoro, I've got Marco at number 6. And I know this is gonna frustrate people, I know it's gonna annoy you, but hear me out. Marco is an absolute beast. And I'm starting to think either Oda has done him dirty, or Oda's done him a disservice, or maybe One Piece fans are not giving him the love that he truly deserves. I mean, Marco was the right hand of Whitebeard. I mean, do we know who Whitebeard is? This guy was known as the world's strongest man, and Marco was his right hand? At Marineford, Marco was kicking it with Kizaru throughout the entirety of Marineford, that is. And in the end, he only got caught and cuffed with Seastone because he was worried about Whitebeard's health. And this has been a common theme for Marco. As a doctor, Marco has always been a protector, and I think this is what people use to downplay him. In Wano, Marco did so much. Look, he has a mythical zone devil fruit, which we've learned that the mythical zones clearly are the most OP. And throughout Wano, he expended so much energy just trying to save the people from Queen's ice plague. Beyond this, he was holding off both King and Queen before their battles with Zoro and Sanji. But where I really give him his flowers is that after Marineford, after Whitebeard's death, it wasn't a question that Marco would be the one to lead the Whitebeard pirates. But not just that, he literally slid for Whitebeard and went to take on the Blackbeard pirates. And yes, I know, they lost, and it was an overwhelming victory. But let's be honest, Marco has come out unscathed, and whether that's his devil fruit or not, he clearly was the one that would have took on Blackbeard and leave unscathed. Even one of our favourite characters, and one we believe to be one of the strongest in the verse, Shanks, came up against a young Blackbeard and left with a scar. And for this reason, Marco definitely should not be questioned, and rightly deserves his spot on this list. But now it's the top 5. And at number 5, I've got Shiryu. And to be honest, I don't even know if we can count Shiryu as the right hand to Blackbeard, because it could very easily be Burgess. But for the purposes of this video, let's imagine he is. Now, why Shiryu at number 5? Well, this can only be because of plot, because of Blackbeard. You see, outside of that, there's nothing too much that we've seen from Shiryu in order to glaze him like a Krispy Kreme donut. So let's skip this and go straight on to number 4. And at number 4 on the list, it's got to be Ben Beckman, a guy who is clearly on the levels of admirals like Kizaru, Fuji, Green Bull, just based on the data books. But outside of that, his portrayal has been fantastic in the story. And let's be honest, that moment at Marineford where he pulls up on Kizaru is absolutely goated. Couple that up with the fact that he has the highest IQ of any character in the East Blue. He's the right-hand man of the observation killer Shanks. That just goes to show you that Ben Beckman is clowning everyone else that's lower in this list. So what about the top 3? Man, this is so difficult, because at number 3, I'm gonna have to throw in some headcanon here. You see, I had Shiryu on this list before, and I argued it could have been because he could have easily been the right hand rather than Burgess, because Burgess technically joined first. However, maybe Shiryu took over as vice captain afterwards. But now, given that Kuzon, or Aokiji, in which some of you may know him as, has now joined the Blackbeard Pirates, I've got some headcanon to say maybe he could be the right hand, maybe he could be the vice captain. I mean, and if he is, Kuzon is definitely at number 3. You see, Kuzon's an ex-admiral of the Navy, someone who could go toe-to-toe with Akainu. And that's the Fleet Admiral Akainu, by the way, the guy who allegedly has the highest AP in the whole series. Now, I got a lot to talk on when it comes to Kuzon. From being Garp's apprentice to the Navy Fleet Admiral, Kuzon's an absolute powerhouse, and that alone rightfully earns him the spot at number 3 on this list. You see, at number 2, you might have guessed it, it's Prime Rayleigh. Now, Rayleigh was the right hand to the Pirate King Goldie Roger, as in the guy who achieved it all. Wealth, power, fame, the thing that every pirate basically sought out to see to achieve. But that's not all. Rayleigh has shown himself to be a haki master, one who has all 3 forms of haki, and someone who taught our MC Luffy the foundations of haki. Rayleigh has the feats to back up his position in this list. Even out of his prime, he's clashed with Kizaru and walked away unscathed, pulled up to Blackbeard and made him dip out whilst remaining unscathed. And I mean Aura. Aura alone made Blackbeard walk away. Blackbeard thought if Rayleigh was anything like they say he is, I'm not sure I want this problem. There must be a reason why they call him the Dark King. But this leads us on to number 1, and this did come out of left field, but I'm going with Prime Whitebeard. And I know, hold on. You're thinking, what? Whitebeard's not the right hand to anybody, and you may or may not be right. But this is my list, and once again, my headcanon. And here I have to talk about Rocks. You see, we all know about the group Rocks, led by Rox D. Zebek. And this group had it all in terms of the big hitters. But the question I really have is, who was the vice captain? Could it have been Kaido? I'm pretty sure not. What about Big Mom? I mean, come on. And therefore, my headcanon suggests that it definitely had to be Whitebeard. I mean, he went on to be the world's strongest man, and therefore I don't actually need to justify this pick. But this is Prime Whitebeard, my favourite character in the whole of One Piece, topping off the list as the strongest vice captain in One Piece. Oh, and I want to give a special shout out to Mihawk, because I know he technically is Buggy's right hand now, in conjunction with Sir Crocodile. So I guess some of you would want him on this list. But since I didn't put him on this list, how about you guys and girls let me know in the comments where you would put him. Peace out.